Hello, and welcome to another live reading. Today I am going to be reading Chapter 5 from Jordan's Arrow, which is Book 2 in the Jordan of Algorand series. Chapter 5, Peaks and Valleys. Raybon walked along the path through the middle of the mountain Makta village, waving at both adults and children as he went. He was wearing a tan leather vest over a cloth shirt dyed a deep blue and brown cloth pants fastened to his waist by a black leather belt. All of these he had made, a manifestation of Zaska's designs. Wearing them around the village sparked interest, and that often led to more business. So he was content to advertise in this manner, as was his mate. He made his way to Bhopal and Jordan's hut, although he was not in a rush. He stopped a few times to look at the displays of his fellow merchants. "Those Karfi fruits are making my mouth water, Asfana," Raybon nodded to the middle-aged woman. "What do you want for 10 of them?" "Looking to please the whole family," Asfana replied. "That is wise. They will thank you for it. I would trade 10 for one of your soft cloth robes in yellow." Raybon smiled. "Please do not take offense, but I would have to ask for 14 Karfis as a fair trade." 11, she replied in a semi-stern voice. 12, Raybon interjected with a slight tilt of the head and a smile. "Final offer." Asfana relented with a mock huff of defeat. "Very well, 12. "Stop by tomorrow morning with the fruits, and my mate will take your measurements. It will take a few days to make the garment." "That is fine, Raybon. Tell Zaska I look forward to seeing her." Raybon nodded and continued on his way. "How old are your twin boys now, Raybon?" a strong and stout man of Raybon's age asked as they passed each other. He was the village blacksmith. "2 cycles, but I think I've wrestled with weaker Sastons," Raybon replied jovially, eliciting a laugh from his neighbor. Finally, he arrived at his destination, a hut on the west end of the village. He stood outside the entrance, not wanting to be rude, even though he wanted to peer inside. "Bhopal, are you there, my friend?" "Yes, come inside, Raybon." Bhopal walked closer and clasped both of his friend's shoulders in a welcoming gesture. Raybon was silently glad that Bhopal had learned restraint over time, as he had once fractured Raybon's arm when they were teens. Now he looked at the man his friend had become and was happy for him. Still, the slight furrowing of Bhopal's brow alerted Raybon that all was not well. "Did I interrupt something?" asked Raybon. "Nothing that I do not mind being interrupted," Bhopal replied. "I was preparing for my next meeting with Mitas and the chiefess." "Village security?" "That and more." Bhopal seemed distracted to Raybon, who had seen his friend in every conceivable mood over the years. No, not just distracted. Bhopal was worried. He sat in his favorite chair contemplating something that looked unpleasant. "Is there a problem? Anything I should know about?" Raybon asked. "Maybe I can help." "I do not think it is an immediate concern, but we always try to plan for numerous possibilities." Raybon frowned. "No, that's not troubling, not at all." Bhopal took a few seconds to manage a new smile. "I did not mean to worry you," Bhopal consoled. "I must need a break more than I realized." "I guess you do, huh?" "What can I do for you, Raybon?" Raybon was still concerned, but not enough to force the point. "I'm always looking for new sources of material for the clothes I make," Raybon disclosed. "I was considering a trip to the mountains in the Kastadi lands. They are fabled to have unique gems and plants for brilliant dyes. I wondered if you could tell me the safest route and any other security concerns in the area." Bhopal nodded. "I am glad you asked this. I think you should delay any plans to go to the Kastadi lands for now, but you could go south of the Makta mountain and find another good source for the plant dyes at least. I will see if I can recommend another source of gems for you." Raybon wondered what could be going on in the Kastadi lands that Bhopal felt he had to protect him from it. Nevertheless, he trusted Bhopal's judgment. Raybon conceded that if Bhopal did not think it was safe there, then it must be so. "Thank you, my friend," replied Raybon. "I will owe you a pair of boots." "I will collect that debt when you return," Bhopal answered pleasantly. Graybon waved as he exited the hut. The peak of the Mokta mountain was 3,500 feet above the ground and snow-covered. Winds were near constant and treacherous at best. Few traveled here, as there were not many resources that could be obtained at this level which could not be mined or gathered elsewhere on the mountain. Nothing grew this high up, and only jagged rocks, snow, and ice awaited anyone who traversed this way. Even the Tisa birds were not foolhardy enough to brave the currents at the summit. There was more than one reason why the tale of the first Mokta chief claiming this mountain was a legend. At nearly 1,000 feet below the peak, light blue grasses mixed with the rock, snow, and ice, the wind still harsh but survivable. A few hardy animals, like the Karlam, a 3-foot-tall muscular creature similar to a goat but with orange fur, 3 eyes, and sharp teeth, made dens in small caves. From this elevation one could see the top of the Grand Ice Fall, a monstrous waterfall descending 2,000 feet, half of it encased in its own glistening frozen shell. The Mokta village began just under halfway down the mountain on its west-facing region, in the midst of a forest. Most fruits and vegetables could be grown close to the village, but there were also more predatory animals to guard against, such as Zala beasts, the slithering Akazva, and the Sastans. The village had grown in recent years. It now had a population of over 700 people and was still growing. Newborns to pre-dawning time children comprised about 1/2, 25% were elders over 50, and the rest fell in between. Over the last 20 cycles, the village had been experiencing something of a baby boom. After decades of warding off other tribes, they'd seen an extended peace under Chiefess Kitranor. Now each cycle, there was an average of about 100 live births, contrasting with 60 deaths due to illness, animal attacks, accidents, or old age. The village had more than doubled in size in the last 10 cycles. At the base of the mountain, there were streams on the western and southern ends, byproducts of the plentiful waterfall. A variety of fish thrived there, ranging from pebble size to the length and thickness of a man's arm. There were also water carnivores, such as the Imdi, a long, thin reptile with blue scales, green eyes, and piranha-like teeth, and the Dazka, a fish that mimicked a white aquatic flowering plant with light blue pads that rested on the water's surface. But once a fish, animal, or person passed under it, the pad would ensnare it and release a caustic fluid to kill and dissolve its prey before digesting it. Even now, as the cold season moderated into a warmer one, the hibernating creatures emerged from their slumber, beginning new mating cycles. The Mokta villagers planted new crops in hope of a bountiful harvest, and planned the festival of the warm season, a celebration which often led to the choosing of mates and the start of new families. Rain and storms would come, but even if the Mokta were away from the village and got caught in the soaking deluges or lightning, they could take refuge in the caves near the lower precipice. In the surrounding greenlands, all manner of flora, fauna, and animal life flourished. All of this natural wonder existed in harmony under the protective presence of the majestic Mokta Mountain. And that is the end of Chapter 5. This will be the last reading, at least for now, from Jordan's Arrow. And I invite you to join me on Monday when I read from my short story, Singularity of Purpose. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.